Oh, that's all right. Good to go? All right. Good evening, everyone. It's December. Holy cow. I will call to order a meeting of our licensing board. It's December 1st, 2025. Our first item of business is the regular meeting licensing board minutes from November 10th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Butchlick and Alderman Zingsheim. Any comments, questions, corrections? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next item, John.
Yeah, I would like to postpone that license. I've been asked to postpone it for one more next meeting. They have their main meeting tomorrow night, and they wanted to discuss this at their main meeting, so they asked if we could postpone it until our next meeting on December 18th? 15th? Okay, thank you.
Brianna, can you make a note of that, and we'll make sure it's on as long as all their stuff is in order for the 15th. Sounds good. All right, good meeting. Meeting's adjourned.
Is there public works tonight? No. Okay. Then, and that be the case, I call the meeting and call order meeting of the Finance Committee. We have two agenda items this evening. The first one is the approval of minutes from the regular meeting November 10th. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Butchlick and Alderman Schmidt. Any errors, corrections, omissions, deletions? There being none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion carries. Second item is the 2026 collective bargaining agreement between the City of West Bend and the Dispatchers and Clerical Union, Local 503. I'm going to turn to Jesse on this one.
You bet. Thank you very much. So this evening we have a bargaining agreement, a collective bargaining agreement with the Dispatcher and Clerical Union, Local 503, before the Finance Committee for consideration. A bit of context with regards to this agenda item. So this particular unit, being the Dispatchers and Clerical Union, are not sworn officers, nor are they sworn firefighters or protected services, even though they're woven into the fabric of that department. Their collective bargaining rights are actually limited under Act 10, a state law which restricts their collective bargaining abilities to wages only, limited to the Consumer Price Index. In this particular case, for this specific agreement, the Consumer Price Index for a wage adjustment was capped at 2.64%. So that's kind of the groundwork as to the discussions between this group and the city. So a summary of the agreement that we reached, being a very short agreement, because again, the terms or the items that can be bargained are very, very limited in accord with state law. Where we landed after a morning's worth of discussions with the group, the clerical group would look to receive a 2.64% wage adjustment or cost of living adjustment, for which would be effective 1/1 of 26. The dispatch group portion of the group, they actually had, we accomplished a couple of things here with discussing this part of the group. There are multiple pay grades for our dispatchers. Prior to this new contract taking effect, there were 3 with this new contract that would be reduced down to 2 pay grades, and we would be moving employees up a grade. So if they were in 3, they would move up to 2, 2 into 1, and there is a 2% cost of living adjustment that accompanies that. All of those mathematics establishes a new base wage rate for dispatchers at $31.44 per hour. Again, the effective date of the this new collective bargaining agreement, should it be ratified by the city, would be 1/1 of 2026. The two major accomplishments, just to kind of recap, the two major accomplishments out of this discussion were simplification of the dispatcher pay grades, just simply for human resources and payroll purposes, but then also maintaining market competitiveness and a good faith effort in negotiation. So that is a quick summary of this bargaining agreement.
Thank you for that overview, Jesse. Appreciate that and the work you and the team put in on those negotiations. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Sparts and Alderman Bertquist. Any questions for Jesse? I just have one. As we look at the 2026 budget, Jesse, with these increases, this falls within the budget that you have set forth for 2026 without any impacts?
Yes,
It's
it
been
does. Primarily
accounted
due
for.
to the limited nature of the bargaining that we're able to do with this particular group. It was, in essence, somewhat easy to budget for. So yes, fully accounted for.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. There being no further business before the Finance Committee, I adjourn as chair.
Good evening. I will call to order a meeting of the Common Council. It is Monday, December 1st, 2025. More than 24 hours in advance of tonight's meeting, notice of the time, place, date, and subject matter of the meeting was posted in accordance to Wisconsin state statutes. Clerk, can you confirm this meeting was properly posted?
Yes, it was.
Thank you. I invite you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. We recognize a full quorum of our council here with us tonight on this another snowy evening, December 1st. I was just told 10 minutes ago is Snow Driver Operator Appreciation Day, which is pretty fitting considering the weekend that our operators had
Every day is.
over the weekend. And so if you see a snowplow drive by your street, they do appreciate a thumbs up, a wave, just some sort of recognition that you see them and appreciate what they're doing. And they did a heck of a job over the weekend. So we appreciate them today and every day. Our first item of business is the Common Council regular meeting minutes from November 10th, 2025.
Second.
Thank you, Alderwoman Sizer and Alderman Zingsheim. Any comments, questions, corrections? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. I'm going to ask John Fellows to come to the mic. He's going to introduce Mr. Dorsig, who's here to present a housing study that was done.
Good evening, everyone. This evening, we have the ability to present to you a housing study for the city of West Bend. It also looks at some statistics through Washington County. This project was funded through the Next Gen Housing Program from Washington County. They've done a similar study a number of years ago, I believe in Jackson and Hartford, I think. But this is current up to date. This study was done this summer. It's taken us a few months to get to council to present it. But I'm going to turn it over to Eric, and he'll be able to walk you through the study. It's a lot of reading. I'm sure you all dove into it on Saturday during the storm, but he'll provide some highlights. And then afterwards, if you have any questions, that'd be great. Or feel free to give me a call in the days or weeks ahead, and I'll be able to answer any questions. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Good evening. So my name is Eric Dorsching. I'm the president of Tracy Cross and Associates. We're based in Schaumburg, Illinois. We are a residential market research and consulting firm. We do housing studies for a variety of clients, from builders and developers to municipal bodies to lenders, investors, whoever is interested in understanding the housing market or a particular development's viability, et cetera. They come to us. We've been in business since 1980. I joined the firm in '89, right out of school. I've been there quite a long time and have done this. And in this particular instance, we were contacted by WestGen and John in particular, and as well as the county, to take a really objective and unbiased look at the potential and the opportunity and the viability of new construction housing, both for rent and for sale, in both Washington County as a whole, and then with a focus on West Bend as a huge component of that county. So the main objectives, just to give you a quick summary, and as you know, whether you've seen it or not, we have a pretty big document that we published with our findings, and a lot more detail than will be here. But I want to give you a good, solid summary today. But really, our objective here was to really forward an understanding of relevant market trends that exist in not just kind of 10,000 feet in the air, but really an on-the-ground look at the housing market and its state and what it means for the future, to assess this housing market both today and going forward, and then to provide specific recommendations, not just observations, but recommendations for penetrating the demand base that exists in this market. So, just a real quick graphic here. Washington County, as you're well aware, is part of the 4-county Milwaukee metropolitan statistical area, and West Bend occupies a north-central location there. It's the county seat, obviously, and easily accessible by major transportation into the kind of the near northwest suburban area of Milwaukee. So a big focus, and the reason I pull this up was not only to look at West Bend, but also and mainly Washington County as West Bend operates within it. So just to jump right into kind of some of the residential findings, and I'll start with the rental housing market, okay? And I would say Washington County rental market is as tight as we've seen in the state of Wisconsin. There are others very similar, but and what I mean by tight is that, just to give you an idea, the Milwaukee region among stabilized development, all assets, has a 3.1% vacancy rate, and Washington County is at 1%. West Bend, among stabilized developments, is 1.4%. Now, typically, a 5% vacancy rate is normal to allow typical turnover, filtering, movement in and out of a rental community, and Washington County and West Bend are super tight. Now, when I say stabilized developments, what's excluded from this are the absolute brand new developments that are undergoing their initial absorption. So they're absorbing their new units. So these are developments that have reached that stabilization and are reporting these vacancy rates. So, speaking of absorption, everything that's been introduced both in Washington County and West Bend, in our opinion, has been absorbed quickly at what one would consider healthy rates and reach stabilized occupancy pretty quick. And you can see that despite over the last 10 years, close to 1,500 units being introduced in Washington County, it has not been nearly sufficient enough to satisfy the demand, given the continual tightness among every development, even as they reach stabilized occupancy. So I will get to demand in a second, but just so you know, the condition of the rental housing market is very tight, and another way to put that is undersupplied. Switching quickly to the for-sale sector of the market, there are also supply deficiencies in the for-sale sector, especially at the mainstream or moderate price points. And let me back up a little bit, because one of our objectives of this study was to focus on what we call mainstream, middle, or workforce housing. Okay, that's market rate, but it really appeals to people earning between 50 and 150% of the median. And then also market rate, which is really kind of 100%. It crosses over up the whole income chain. So in this particular market, the moderate to mainstream price points in Washington County and West Bend, there are significant supply deficiencies. In fact, I think the numbers relative to price and some other figures will put this in perspective. So if you just take a look quick over the last 3 years, and we did this in the summer, so it really focuses on 22, 23, and 24. You can see the difference now in the median price of a resale, okay, on an existing home, an older stock home in the county, is almost $100,000 lower than, in fact, I took a quick look at 2025, and the median for new construction, single-family detached in Washington County is now closer to 520. So just in a year, it's jumped up almost $50,000 in terms of what the closings are. So what we started to see here is exacerbated now in terms of the differential between resales and new construction. And that's going to be a big focus in this discussion is how to combat that, what's happening there, because as it relates to sales rates for new construction developments, because of their higher price, they're typically at a moderate pace. You typically see an individual subdivision or community or development generating between 8 and 12 sales a year, which is considered modest by most standards. Usually a national average is selling 2 per month on average, and then there's instances where that can be much higher. Here you can see in these days on market for the resales, the pressure that the higher prices are putting on the resale sector, with days on market dropping down to 15 days on average. The normal is 72 to 90 days in any typical market, and here in Washington County, single-family resales are at 15. You're still, even at the higher price of the new construction, they're still below average, but nearly triple the time to sell a new construction as it is a resale. Very similar situation in the townhome condominium duplex market. The differential is even wider if you look at 2024 between a resale and a new construction. And one of the reasons that is because most attached, what we call single-family attached or duplexes or condominiums, are really lifestyle-oriented, highly stylized developments with higher prices. The county has yet to see kind of mainstream attached products that are trying to represent single-family detached substitutes on the basis of price. Here, they haven't got there yet. The market needs that, and I'll get into that in a second. But again, you can see the resale sector here, how fast units sell, and as the prices escalated, and it's over 400,000 again in 2025 for the attached. Days on market, because it's gone up, is starting to increase because as I go back here, and one thing I'll focus on here is that the current alignment of new construction homes is separating itself from the qualitative distribution of household incomes. It came out of COVID, costs increased, we all know that, the price went up, there was high demand to move from higher density areas to suburban areas, all these different things, supply chain issues, lumber costs, etc. While things have stabilized, the price has not gone down of costs. It's either, it's inched up or it's never come back. So that's in part influencing the higher price point. What's suffering is the volume of activity, the number of sales that are being generated, because again, which I'm gonna show you a very telling graphic shortly on how the sale of homes of new construction is working away from incomes, okay? Just a real quick graph before I get there. This is inventory. So just take a look at this real quick. What this shows is both single-family detached on the top portion and then the townhome duplex condominium or attached product lower by price range, just simply showing the number of resale closings, okay, by price point, and then at a point in time this summer, the number of listings, okay? So what that shows you on the far right column is the inventory in months, and a typical price group should have 3 to 4 months of inventory, and you can see at every price point basically below 550,000 and especially below the 450 mark, you're at half of what that should be in inventory. Very similar in the attached sector, and then it gets higher, especially in the attached sector as you get into the higher price points. So again, this is showing you the pressure being put on the existing home market right now, because income qualifying households who would like to get into new construction, even at 120, 130% of median, they just can't get into it for the home that they need for their household size. Let's talk about demand quick. Washington County is ranked in the metropolitan area second only to Waukesha County in terms of expected household growth, provided supply is made available. Okay, we use a number of services. We like a division of Claritas called Environics Analytics that they are extrapolating building permit information, economic growth, et cetera, to the census figures, and also bringing in the annual census community survey work. So we like their forecasts for household growth, and they're expecting Washington County to grow by just over 600 households annually. We think that's going to be tough to meet, and yet we also think that is conservative of what it could be. But utilizing that typical household growth and that expected normal household growth that over the next 5 years, and factoring other elements like replacement. You don't have a lot of older urban cores where you have a demolition and abandonment where you need replacement housing, but there's a modicum of that. But then you have the requirement for vacancies and other factors. This county could absorb 725 units annually, broken down by product segment as we have here. That's over 3,600 units through 2030, with the proper positioning. Now, we're getting away from being able to meet that for a variety of reasons, and I'll come back to that. But this is the graph I really wanted to emphasize as we get into our recommendations. And on the left side, again, this is the disconnect that's occurring. Our demand for for-sale housing of 425, so 425 in the for-sale sector, and we showed 300 annually in the rental sector, is based on incomes, okay? Starting with those who are going to qualify for, an entry-level house and working your way up. You can see that the concentration of product should be 250 to 450,000. And it's occurring where the sales are occurring right now is really starting at 350,000 and working its way up. And that's starting to move even higher on that side, where the income side of it moves much more gradually. So the disconnect is going to keep getting wider if something isn't done to provide the price of housing that's required in this marketplace, okay? There's a lot of statistics, a lot of additional support for this in there. We audited individual developments, both rental and for sale. And really, just to summarize, there is a need for this middle to upper middle, whether you call it workforce, whether you call it mainstream or middle. That's where the biggest gap exists in this market. That's where the biggest hole and the biggest void is. Washington County is not unlike others. Other counties, throughout Wisconsin and the Midwest are experiencing very similar scenarios. And so, we basically, some of the key things is that, let me go back real quick. I forgot to mention one thing. You see how our demand base is at 3625. When we did the study, and this hasn't changed much, even though West Bend is being aggressive to get more housing in here, it formally in the planning pipeline, only 40% of that number was found in actual proposed developments. So demand is going to exceed supply. Okay, and then if you bring in supply that, there's a demand for market rate higher end where the sales are occurring. There is demand. It's lower. Sales per development are slower, but there is demand there. And that's where most of what is proposed is going to be aligned. So all this demand that's possible is really, it's unlikely to be met anytime soon because it takes a a process to bring in the right product and get it aligned with where the market should be. Really, some of the key takeaways from the report was, this county should continue to nurture an influx of new rental housing communities, looking at diversified products. One of the things that I noticed is that you have very few developments of scale, what we call, of a significant total unit count. Most of the developments that have been introduced are under 75 total units, which doesn't allow you to get kind of the lifestyle environment, the amenities that others are offering throughout suburban Milwaukee. And so a focus on larger scale communities, because the demand is there, is something that should be considered. You should not be fearful of the 180 unit development, because the absorption potential and the demand is there. And so really to nurture, and what's interesting about the rental housing, and I know you can sometimes look at the rents and say, wow, that's high. Well, Washington County is the lowest out of suburban Milwaukee in terms of new construction rents, because you're still below the $2 a square foot mark, okay? And there's not this major effort that needs to be taken to bring, like the for sale sector that I'll talk about in a second, to bring the product to market. Really, you just need to bring more of what, and if they can align with where the market is, that, starting with the studios and moving up to 3 bedrooms, you're going to hit that 50 to 100+% of median where a lot of these renter households are located. So the key there is just to bring in more rental housing if you can. In the for sale sector, really what truly needs to be done, and we'll talk about how challenging this will be at the end, but is really you need a full hierarchy of for sale housing and a continuum, and not just approving, but a carefully thought out hierarchy to bring into this county and West Bend in particular, a true hierarchy of for sale housing. So you're hitting on every consumer segment, every ownership, income bracket, et cetera. It's going to take an initiative to work closely with builders and developers so that these communities are strategically aligned relative to the product and the rents. Going to have to think differently in order to do it. It can't just be the same old, and you can do it very tastefully, very incredibly well done communities by just thinking differently. And given the costs associated, even with some of the things I'm going to give you now, there may be the need or the possibility, like in other areas of the Midwest, like next generation's involvement, okay, to get that price where it needs to be. Or, in other areas, they've used tax increment financing as a vehicle and other things. So those are things that may become a possibility. Here's a real summary. Even though in the report we have very detailed plan-by-plan pictures, product, et cetera, but really, this represents a good hierarchy. It's not all that could be introduced, but it represents the core as kind of a guideline for the municipality as developers, builders either come through your doors or you're out seeking somebody to do something on a piece of property. There's really 3 rental products that are key staples that we would recommend, and 4 single family, from 2-story garden apartments with a component of 1-car attached garages to ranch villa rentals that have 1- and 2-car garages that target the more mature empty nester move down, but not restricted to that segment, and then also single family rentals done in a very tasteful way. Getting into the for sale housing products, there's, these are real departures. Throughout suburban Milwaukee, the 3 that I mentioned are very popular, not so much in all over Washington County, but in the rental sector, that's very straightforward. In the for sale sector, we're looking at, you got to bring in some higher density, and I don't mean high density, higher than normal, above average, to do some townhomes, 2-car rear load garage townhomes where you can get 10 units or 12 units per acre. They look excellent Here's an example of them right in the middle of this picture. Those on the left, that's a townhome development. I can't remember, that's in Michigan, Iowa. But it's really tastefully done. It's got a rear load garage. They're 3 stories, and they hit a price point under, well under $300,000. And that's the key. The key price is to have prices from $265,000 for that product through ranch villas. Again, an empty nester targeted product, but not duplexes, doing 4-unit buildings to improve the density. And then smaller lot conventional single family, because again, the sweet spot is between $265,000 and $486,000. So these are what you really truly want in terms, and again, the report has much more detail. Here's just some pictures of how these look. The top are the first 3 products, just an example of others that are doing the garden apartments, the ranch villa rentals, and the single-family rentals, and then the townhomes and the attached ranch villas in 4 or 5 or 6-unit buildings, and then the variety of single-family on smaller, more narrow lots, but still very tasteful, especially when you get the landscaping and everything in there. All right, how do you meet these price points? A builder walks through your door and you show them our study and say, here's the prices we need. They'll be like, oh, we can't do that for that footage. They'll tell you that right out. Because their mindset is, and rightfully so, this is what it costs to build. So it really, if you really want to solve the issue of where new construction housing, it's not only the densities and the generic product forms that I've showed you, but each product line needs to be efficient from a value engineered, and this can be achieved by very functional units. You got to look at designing these homes with no wasted space, so you're getting the best room count, the best room dimensions in the least amount of square footage. Optional basements. Don't mandate that the consumer, because the consumer right now in Wisconsin who has always had a basement, okay? Always. You buy a single family home, it comes with a basement. Everybody knows that. Well, they're so disenfranchised now with prices, the median in Waukesha County, suburban Waukesha County for a single family home, 1,600 square feet, is $640,000 right now. Okay, it's just out of control. And so because consumers are disenfranchised and they only have the resale sector or the rental sector, offering them the option of not having a basement and getting new construction in a very good functional home is something that it really needs to be done to bring the cost down, to give them the choice, because they will opt for no basement at a price point that they can afford that is not available on any home with a basement. 4-corner construction is key, and just to give you an idea, so you look at the home look at the bottom here. It's a single-family ranch. It's a 3-bedroom. It's a 4-corner box. Now you can put a great elevation on this, a great color scheme, and nobody knows that it's been value engineered. This is more of a typical ranch that you see on a wider lot because the garage is not integral to the envelope. It's set to the side. It's got all these corners which raise the price when you have to do that. It's all about thinking differently and putting all of these factors together to hit those price points that are required. Strong uses of colors versus complicated architecture or costly materials. Pushing densities to offer, townhomes to the street because you can create architectural landscape as opposed to having certain setbacks that in a particular site location are not necessary. And then land planning, considering larger scale developments. There's land availability in Washington County to create a large-scale master plan community that has multiple product lines. And you can do things and achieve economy of scale by doing that. What I wanted to, this is just a quick, we do tons of regression analysis to understand positioning, but so these are really, recent single-family closings on a simple graph here that plots the footage and the closing price of a single-family home. And you can see there's a lot of dots under the line, but the market is moving up beyond the line, and we're suggesting you start to hit these points in a very efficient manner and planing out to cover where the value-oriented homes are currently located. Now, I should mention that the typical development in Washington County, because of the higher prices, selling 8 to 12 a year. Well, the Next Generation Housing Initiative did the Oaks of Jackson, and that doubled, almost tripled the level of sales annually, okay? Because they implemented certain elements, not exactly like we're recommending here, but certain elements that brought the price down. And there's a deed restriction, there's other things, but what it did was it doubled 2.5 times the typical sales rate. And that's just, when we get back to our product here, you can see the sales that can be generated, especially in the for sale where you got 36, 36, 42, and 30 sales annually, double to triple, 2.5 to, more than 3 times the typical rate if everything can come together to bring this housing to market, okay? Our report provides this hierarchy and this continuum that you should look at as your base guide for really filling the void that exists in this market and how to do it. But you can't, because supply side constraints are so significant, don't forget about other options. Even the semi-custom, custom home market has its place. I mean, there is demand for prices between $500 and $1 million. That will continue. It's just the volumes are lower, okay? And there's not as deep of a pool. There's other mid-rise apartments that you even have down here with the district. That's, those are things that they're not part of that base continuum, but that's a product line that has its place and it can be successful. Smaller scale for sale condominiums or urban townhomes, urban single family sites, narrow lot, rear load single family. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can entertain because supply is going to, or demand is going to exceed supply, so you should be entertaining a lot of it. You just have to know as you get higher in price or something's more unique, the volume's going to be lower. The more you can get into the middle and upper middle sector of the market, the sales are going to improve dramatically for the builders. So trying to summarize this, is difficult because there's a lot more in the report, but you shake your head like this just not possible. Well, it really takes someone to orchestrate and someone to really buy into what needs to be done relative to value engineering, densities, land planning, product design, yet not compromising the functionality, the curb appeal, what West Bend wants to see and feel in the community. That doesn't have to be compromised because that can be handled with both architectural and topographical landscaping and other elements. But really, to achieve the goals in our study, it really will take a public-private partnership of sorts to make a development and come in and really bring housing, bring a housing community that's going to satisfy where the demand actually exists. And one thing I should bring up, and it's to caution because you have to, if Washington County or a builder developer does a large scale development and figures out how to penetrate with both attached for sale product and single family product, basically in the 265, call it 500 range, call it 275 to 500, with multiple product lines hitting every price point, because sales will go up that much and because nobody else is doing it in the region, there will be significant spillover into Washington County. You can guarantee that. So that's part of the sales increase, but it could be more significant. So the builder has to be ready to handle that. And everybody has to be ready to handle that, because if you if you solve it for Washington County and it's not being done in neighboring areas, you will see spillover pressure. So anyway, I open it up for questions, just whatever you have.
That was fascinating. It really is. You know, we live here and talk about and see this type of stuff, but to see the data that goes behind it and to hear you passionately talk about it, it's very fascinating. Any questions anybody has? The full report is obviously in our agenda packet. Anybody watching at home can certainly see that, and we always record.
And if you're really interested, I encourage you to read it a couple times.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a market study. You're like, oh, okay, I'd rather watch a Packer game. But but it is really, there is a lot of good information, and you go through it twice because you make notes, there's things, and it's also to serve as a guide for, if you go back, those first 3 for sale, see, the rental housing market is just going to flow because the rents are at a point, even though you might think they're high, they're really not, because the $1,200 a month for, not getting into single family rentals, but the $1,200 to $2,200 a month right now for all these different plans from say 600 to 1,250 square feet, you can come in and do that readily without a lot of brain damage in terms of multifamily developers that are doing it right now. It's the single family or the for sale sector that has got to be pulled back if you want to do it. But the courtyard townhomes, the ranch villas, and the conventional, the small lot single family, those 3, they do fall in, they just happen to fall into the parameters of what next gen housing is doing, their parameters. So there may be something there for them to get involved. It's possible. I'm just saying it falls within their parameters. But again, it's there's a great opportunity, and I just think that you probably hear from a lot of people the price of housing, how high it's gotten. Yes.
So if I could ask, is just sort of reduce this down to a short comparison. So it sounds like you're advocating, or the study is advocating, more options in lower cost housing to meet a demand that is there. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
I wouldn't say lower. Lower than what it currently is.
Yes. Yeah.
But it really is where it's going back to where it was before COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as I'm looking also in the notes, the median income is around 90,000.
Yes.
90,000. So what would I mean, maybe you don't have this number off of your head, but what would be the projected affordability of a 90,000 median income? Like, what would that, like if my household was 90,000 a year, what's the type of
so
housing?
if you're right at median, okay, in terms of what you can qualify for, that's in the mid to upper $200,000 range.
Okay.
Just do a 3.2 calculation on your income to get a rough idea in today's interest rate environment. Okay. The rental market picks up the 50% to 100% of median because you've got rents in 1,200. And if you look what's a qualifying income for that at a 30% housing cost allocation, it's about 50,000. So, and that's typically where the renters of new rental housing are starting. Their incomes are about 50, and they're entering but in the for sale sector, you really need to be at 100% of median going up. And the void for sale is 100 to about 160% of median. You just can't get in. There's nothing for those folks in terms of new construction right now.
Yeah.
There's some in the 300s, okay? There's some throughout Washington County, but not much.
Go ahead, Bill.
Yes.
You use the term public-private partnership. Could you expound on that?
Yeah, so I didn't mean that like you might see in some other relationship. What I mean is a municipality and a builder developer working together. Okay, meaning coming together to say, okay, these are our zoning regulations right now, or these are, whatever the case may be, maybe there's impact fees that can be lowered slightly, you know, and the builder's gotta do their part. They have to spend the money to value engineer the product, and they have to show the so it's working together on both density, zoning requirements, and product design, and infrastructure. That's what I mean by that, just working together.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a question, but I think a comment, because I think what we find in your report, and I'm sure because John has had this report for some time, it validates what developers are coming to discuss with us in pitch to the Plan Commission and the council in terms of future development here in West Bend. So I appreciate this because now it provides the context to answer the question that we get most often is, do we really need more apartments? Do we really need more single-family homes? What are the price points that they should be at? And this spells it out very clearly. So I appreciate the work that you and your team have gone in to develop this for us.
Yeah, and so when it comes to more apartments, just remember two things. The market is tight, so that means you need more supply to bring it to a balanced level. And there's continual household growth. It's not just people moving around internally to Washington County. You're growing. The county's growing, West Bend's growing. And West Bend can capture, because of what West Bend has, from its retail and commercial to its own economic base to its quality of its schools, et cetera. If you want, you can capture a disproportionate share of demand, meaning right now, typically West Bend grabs about 20%, and you guys could be 40 to 45% of county demand without a problem. You're not that far north where all of a sudden that becomes an issue, like maybe Kewaskum, or, you know, if you get further out to the really northern portion of the county, then the commutation becomes bigger factor. But given West Bend's location to employment destinations, especially from Menominee Falls all the way through Wauwatosa and Brookfield, you're in a great position to capture a disproportionate share of demand. Plus, Germantown is mirroring more of a Menominee Falls, Mequon kind of hybrid with their price position. So their prices are significantly higher, and they're disenfranchising a lot of people in Washington County without that. They don't have the ability to have anybody in the new construction sector. Elsewhere, Slinger, Jackson, West Bend does have some product in the 300s, it's just not enough. Okay.
All right. Eric, thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Eric lives down in northern Illinois, so he's got a little bit of a drive tonight. But,
Yeah.
be safe.
But born and raised in Wisconsin, grew up in Fort Atkinson, so I love working in Wisconsin.
Good.
Went to school here and just enjoy this. So it's been my pleasure to work for West Bend.
Thanks for being here tonight.
You bet.
Eric. Drive safe.
Thanks.
All right, we will move on to our consent agenda. Our consent agenda just has the 2026 collective bargaining agreement between the city and the dispatchers and clerical union local 503. I'll entertain a motion on consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Alderman Zingsheim and Alderman Sparts. Any comments, questions? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. John is going to come to talk about the 2026 budgets for the open TIDs and is requesting an action on that tonight. So John, take it away.
Sure. So in your packet today, you have a map of the tax increment financing districts and a number of other documents. Each of those documents, the top chart on those documents shows the anticipated revenue for each TID, and the lower one has the anticipated expenses for each of the TIDs from that perspective. I can go through each of these individually fairly quickly, but stop me if you have more detailed questions. So in TID number 3, that is over by the airport, we are anticipating a revenue and expense of about $751,000. There will be some remaining balances for back to the sewer utility and the general fund. Sewer utility would be about 1.6, and the general fund we would pay off a little bit. and that would be, leave about $500,000. For TID number 4, that would be what you might consider the area by Walmart. The revenue expenses are anticipated to be about $1.6 million. There is a shared increment from TID number 4 and number 5. That would be about $712 each for TID number 4. TID number 5 is the depot area. We anticipate revenue and expenses to be around $1 million. The TID will receive about $712,000 from TID number 4, receiving that area. TID number 6 is the Paradise area by Myers and Menards, that sort of area down there. Revenues expected to be about $1 million, and the TID will provide shared increment to TID number 9 of about $965,000 for that district. Industrial district number 7 is expected to be just under $500,000 in expenses and revenue, and it owes nothing to the sewer utility at this time, and the remaining balance for the general fund at the end of the year would be $165,571. Note, TID number 7 is in the process of being closed this year, so this will be the last budget year for that district. TID number 9 is over by the museum. Revenue and expenses are anticipated to be $1.9 million. It does receive a shared increment from 4 and 6 to a total of $1.6 million. It owes nothing at this time to the sewer utility, but it does owe $1.4 million to the general fund at the end of the year. TID number 10 is the cast iron just north of Washington Street. Again, that's kind of a similar situation where it's estimated to have a budget of and revenue of $1 million. The remaining balance to the water utility is just above $500,000, and it owes nothing to the general fund. TID number 11 is the industrial area just to the west off of South River. That area is expected to have a revenue and expense of just over $500,000 with about $105,000 to the sewer utility and $1.7 million remaining at the end of the year for payment back to the general fund. TID number 12 is the Gale area. It's a revenues and expenses expected to be about $1.8 million, with the balance to the sewer utility as being about $1.3 million. It would remain zero for the general fund. TID number 13, industrial areas. Revenues, expenses are about $137,000. It owes nothing to the sewer utility, and the remaining balance to the general fund is about just under $500,000. And then the West Bend Manufacturing Center, TID number 14, is anticipated to have revenue and expenses about $657,000. It doesn't owe anything to the sewer utility, and the remaining budget to the general fund would be about $480,000. And then TID number 15, the revenue expenses is anticipated to be $1 million, a little over $1 million. And then for Sand Drive, that's TID number 16, revenue expenses are estimated to be about $606,000. For TID 17 and 18, there have not been any. It will be the first year for both potential increment would happen following on 1/1 of 27. And so we would anticipate budgets for 17 and 18 to be presented next December. I ran through that really quick, maybe. Sorry about that. Any questions?
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on approval of these TID budgets.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Sternig and Alderman Zingsheim. Any other comments, discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to our reports tonight. Our library board on November 18th.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The last meeting of the library board was held on November 18th. The consent agenda was approved with amendments to the minutes from the last meeting concerning the musical garden I told you about, and the MOU with Roots and Branches outlining care and responsibilities of said garden. Financial reports were given that included a donation from the Early Riser Kiwanis for programming. Thanks to them for their support. The director's report included the status of our search for a new deputy director. Interviews are going well. Steve provided an update on the self-check system that we are looking at to increase efficiency through current technology. There are two options that we're looking at. Just standard models without all the bells and whistles to keep the costs down. Vendor demonstration is scheduled for December 9th. Our policy of the month review included our natural disaster and emergency closing policy. A copy was sent to the board for review, and we'll discuss any changes next month, or this month, actually, December. Lastly, Steve provided a building update. The flooring replacement is done and looks great. I couldn't even tell the difference between the new LVP and the old slate that was in the front, so it's great. Stop in and check it out. And while you're there, also go downstairs to the LRC, the Library Rec Center, and check out the new mural on the wall. I think there was a posting about the work being done down there and that mural, so it's really cool. The board president reported that we will be discussing Steve's annual evaluation in December. Agenda items for consideration included strategic planning. We're looking at vendors to provide that service at a reasonable price. We looked at print costs. We lowered our cost for constituents. That's copies and things at the library. So we reflected some changes in the fees based on local libraries and where their fees are. So we lowered those prices for our constituents. Close dates and the library board meetings for 2026. The library board approved the list of close dates, and they actually resemble the city's close date that we used as an example. The next meeting is scheduled for December 16th. Remember, you can check out the library's social media presence for a list of events and updates. That is all.
Very good, thank you. How about the Plan Commission, November 18th?
We had a meeting, a special meeting on November 18th, and there was, other than the approval of minutes, there was one item on the agenda. Actually, there was two. And it was the request for the approval of a 2-lot and a 1-lot outlot certified survey map at 400 South University Drive. It was submitted by the City of West Bend, and that is the subdivision or the platting of the WWC campus, and that was approved. And I think it'll be coming to the council soon.
Thank you.
That was it.
That was it. Tourism Commission, November 20th.
Yes, we had a relatively brief meeting, not in council chambers, but in the city hall. Mike Jensch presented the financial report for the Tourism Commission, and one major decision that we made is to join both the bid board and the Chamber of Commerce in funding the Discover Wisconsin promotional opportunity that Kelly Thiel, our communications director, brought forth, and so we'll be supporting that in a 4-episode series coming up promoting West Bend and some of the great tourism opportunities we're having going forward. But other than that, we got some staff reports on promotion of a lot of the activities that have already happened, highlighting, but there's also a holiday lights map. I believe that's accessible from the city, places to check out for the holiday lights, and hopefully a lot of you enjoyed the Christkindl Mark this weekend, even amidst the storm. So that's all I have to report.
All right, thank you. Parks, Rec, and Forestry, November 20th.
Yeah, the minutes of the October 30th meeting were approved. The meeting actually took place now on November 20th, and there was a Boy Scout presentation by Colin Healy for improvements to the archery range. He plans to replace 3 of the target stands, one at 10 yards, one at 20, and one at 25. The cost is approximately $550 per stand, and he is budgeting a $250 contingency. If there are funds left over, they will be donated to the city. He plans to fundraise over winter, build a stand, and complete the project by mid-May. Mike Jensch walked the area with him and reviewed the plans, and the commission approved his project. We held a discussion of the disposition of the current skate park equipment and eventual use of the parking lot where it is located. While dedicated skate park users currently travel to other communities to practice their sport, there are still some children and some local users who utilize the current equipment. Therefore, we discussed leaving the current park open, probably through next summer, and will explore setting a closing date sometime later in 2026. Various options for the parking lot were also discussed and will be explored later. No action was taken at this time. Mike Yench was recognized for receiving an award at the recent Chamber of Commerce dinner, and in turn, he thanked his team for their support. So congratulations again, Mike. Ryan reported that soil boring is being completed for the new skate park location. The dance program is back at the library, and the regular pond will be prepped for ice skating. Dan reported via email that batting cages were completed at Riverside Park, and 2 prescribed burns, one at Riverside and one at LLC, were successful. Courtney Cox Polson reported via email also. She said a variety of programs are scheduled at the LLC, including Nature in the Classroom, Nature Storytime at the library, and a presentation on owls will be held on January 17th. There also has been an Eagle Scout request to construct a little free library for the playground area at the LLC Nature Playground. Rick Fox reported via email also the 2026 tree surety is in bid phase. That includes planting of 223 trees consisting of 17 different species. Also, the Labyrinth Garden parking stalls were completed on time and under budget. And that completed the Park Rec and Forestry meeting.
All right, thank you. Administrator report, Jesse.
Absolutely, thank you very much. Well, the statistics are a bit anecdotal with no formal attendance numbers. I did attend the Christkindl Market on Friday. It was very well attended that evening, and I do understand throughout the weekend there was pretty solid and consistent attendance in spite of the weather. So that was good news. Hopefully there's some traction there. I think it's a great event for downtown and kind of this in-between time between the tree lighting and the actual Christmas season. So hopefully this gains some traction and keeps going into the future. Today, City Hall actually hosted the Decorah 4th grade choir for some Christmas carols and lighting of the tree in the atrium. That was a blast to have the kids here singing for their parents and city staff in the atrium. And again, we lit our tree here at City Hall. So a nice kickoff here at City Hall for the holiday season. So my report for this evening. Thanks.
Thank you. Any alderman reports tonight? Go ahead.
Yep. I just want to compliment Doug Newman and Logan for outstanding job that the Public Works team did this year for snow plowing. Very unusual snowstorm to be this early in the season. And I know there's some people upset because the leaves weren't all picked up, but again, our crew is not a very large crew compared to what it was years ago. So I totally understand. Sometimes Mother Nature throws a curveball at us, and it's a little tough to try to hit that curveball. But I did see a note coming through that Public Works hasn't completely put leaves off for the rest of the season. If the weather would happen to turn to a better, warmer weather and the leaves, they will go back and pick up the leaves. But in the meantime, there isn't anything they can do, but they said they will come back in spring. So I know normally in spring they don't go through, but they did say that they will come back in spring and make sure that whatever was remnants from this fall, they would take care of that. But kudos to the crew. I mean, that was a long storm, and they did a great job. Outstanding.
Yeah. Anyone else on this side?
I would just add a comment on that. I definitely affirm the big challenge of doing this big snowstorm and amidst calls to the leaf collection. Just a question, I think it's pretty clear, but you could still bundle up the leaves and drop them off at the city collection. If you're wondering, it might be a little bit of a chore to shovel that into a paper bag or whatever. But yeah, that's still an option for people worried about the leaves.
Anyone over here?
Just want to remind people that Enchantment in the Park is open and will be open until December 24th. It's a fabulous event and different things on different evenings, but there are marshmallow roasting pits and horse and carriage rides and Santa some nights. Excellent community event because many, many nonprofits are involved in the city and many, many sponsors. It's a wonderful city event. So please get out there. If not once, then even more than that. It's always a good event.
Yeah, great. I asked Jesse to pull up something that was in his newsletter to all of you. But just as a reminder, Jesse had a nice meeting with Lori Winters at MOA, and she has invited the city staff and families and all of us to an open house free of charge at MOA, and it's on December 11th from 4 to 6. And I know I've said it before, but they've got a really neat Frank Lloyd Wright exhibit in there right now, and they are opening their doors just for city staff, family, and all of us. And way to go setting that up. That's pretty neat. We haven't done one of those with MOA that I can ever think of. So if you're around on December 11th from 4 to 6. All right. I got to find my paper here. Oh, there it is. We have a couple of items that may be appropriate for closed session tonight. So I will read these and then ask for a motion. Our first is to adjourn into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.851E, which is deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The purpose of this closed session is to discuss possible terms for a development agreement in TID 17 for the proposed industrial development located east of 18th Avenue and south and east of Corporate Center Drive. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Zingsheim and Alderman Schmidt. I will call the roll. Alderman Berquist.
Aye.
Alderman Engelking.
Aye.
Alderman Butchlick.
Aye.
Alderman Sternig.
Aye.
Alderwoman Sparts. Alderwoman Sparts. Alderwoman Sizer. Sorry, John. Alderman Zingsheim.
Aye.
Alderman Sparts. And Alderman Schmidt.
Aye.
All right. Our next one is a motion to adjourn into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.851E, which is deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The purpose of this closed session is to discuss possible terms of a developer's agreement in TID 18 for the proposed residential and industrial development located east of Main Street and south of Rusco Road and generally west of the Wisconsin and Southern Railroad.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Sternig and Alderman Zingsheim. I will call the roll. Alderman Sparts. Alderman Schmidt.
Aye.
Alderwoman Sizer. Alderman Zingsheim.
Aye.
Alderman Butchlick.
Aye.
Alderman Sternig.
Aye.
Alderman Engelking.
Aye.
Alderman Berquist.
Aye.
All right. We are adjourned into closed session, and we will adjourn our council meeting from closed session tonight. Thank you.